Hello, and welcome to another episode of Chatting with Charlie. Um, there hasn't been an episode for a while, and I'm very sorry about that. Yeah, life has been busy to say the least. Many current events happening as well, which are all absolutely awful. I'm sure, as we all know. Um, yes, I apologize for not being regular at all with my uploads recently, after having been very enthusiastic. But now I have some time again, and I actually had a smart ish episode planned that I have done a lot of research for, but I feel like my brain is too overwhelmed. So I thought I would make an episode about a question that many people have posed to me throughout my life, something that everyone is very, very interested in. What I am going to be talking about is my queer origin story. How did I realize what my sexuality is? How did I come to realize this? And then also I'll talk about sort of some coming out stories, and then I thought I'd tell you the story of how I met my girlfriend, because that is another story that everyone is very, very interested in. She is sitting here waving at me, but she refuses to be in my podcast, which is a bit of a shame. Because she is very incredible. But never mind. The part where I go on how wonderful my girlfriend is. Let's keep that for later. I'm not sure how interested you are in this. So, feels a bit weird to be talking about my life story, but to realize, or to, sorry, for me to realize my sexuality, we have to go a little bit back. So, there's this notion, that people sort of realize very early, and I mean, I see it now, that there are very many young people who are very sure about their sexuality, and are very confident in this, and I think that's pretty incredible. But for me, that was definitely not the case. So I remember in primary school, I had very many of these very, very, very intense female friendships where I would sort of be crying if I had to go on holiday and wouldn't see my best friend for a couple of weeks, and feeling very, very emotional about all of these things. And then I have a memory of when we sort of all started puberty, and people were buying bras, being sort of, very interested in all of the bras that people were wearing. And obviously this was just because I wanted the same bra as those girls, because oh, what a lovely bra. So there are things that when you look back you think, darling, that would explain a lot. But this isn't even like in a sexual way or anything. I think it's just the when you're sort of starting puberty and starting to experience feelings for other people, sort of romantic feelings, and it was all still quite innocent. There was no sort of I don't know, I don't want people imagining anything weird here, because it wasn't. It was very, very innocent, but just sort of a fascination, I guess, a fascination by the female body in general, but nothing that I sort of put down to sexuality, because it wasn't really anything that I was actively thinking about. And now we sort of reach the age, I said, beginning of puberty, where we all sort of started talking about boys. And I mean, I do remember there was a boy who I very much was in love with, I thought, when I was sort of, yeah, I don't know, between the ages of, I guess, 10, 11, and 14. We were good friends, and I was convinced I was in love. But at the same time, I remember very, very vividly, I had a dream that I kissed a woman and that I was dancing in the rain while we were kissing. And then I woke up and I started sobbing because I thought this isn't normal and I must be ill and why am I thinking these things, and that's absolutely disgusting and I shouldn't have these thoughts. And I felt really, really dreadful and really disgusting. And there was a lot of self-loathing involved after this one dream. And I sort of put it down to, I had heard about homosexuality, specifically gay men. I knew that that existed, but I didn't have any other. I didn't really have any other. Well, obviously not experience, but also no other exposure. So I had never heard about lesbians or even bisexual people, and I just assumed I was abnormal and there was something wrong with me and I was disgusting, and I buried these feelings deep inside me. But I also became quite unhappy, and I couldn't really put my finger on it because, objectively my life was fine. But I was sort of becoming increasingly more unhappy. Uh, so if I then carry on with my so this is all sort of age 12, and then if we carry on to when I'm a bit older, again, so I had one of my friends, basically all we talked about was boys. And again, I have memories of, I did sort of form emotional connections, definitely. I had sort of emotional crushes on men, but I kind of also wasn't interested in them the way other people were. So you've got to imagine giggly 14-year-olds, and we were looking at, we typed into Google sexy men, and then we looked at sexy men. I mean, if you go now and type sexy men, probably you won't find very many of them sexy either, because there's this very stereotypical picture. But so we were there fawning over men that were twice our age, with their six packs, and I wasn't particularly interested, which you can imagine. I don't think there are probably many people that wouldn't be, even people who are very much attracted to men. So what I did, so that I could prove that I was the same and like everyone else, I followed a whole load of accounts on Instagram called Sexy Men with Cute Animals. And somehow I found myself just looking at the cute animals. But I told myself and everyone else, oh no, look at this, strong, buff man with a little kitten. Isn't it adorable? And isn't he strong? And oh, I wish he would protect me. So all of these things, at the time, I didn't question any of this. But now when I look back, I think, oh, darling. Anyway, so sorry. Thinking back about this is rather weird. So now we reach age 14, 15, which is when I had my first boyfriend. And we got on very, very, very well. And it was a nice sort of innocent little relationship. But the things that everyone else was talking about at the time weren't really that interesting. I don't know. Everyone was sort of very much pressurizing us to do more than sort of a kiss on the cheek. And I just wasn't interested. And I thought, well, I'm basically a child, and why should I be? And oh, it's disgusting. And reproduction is just for science, and that's the only reason we should think about it. And then, inevitably we split up. I mean, we were just children. There were lots of factors, and I was heartbroken because I was sure this was the love of my life. And I was very sad because, I was 15 and single. So that meant that I would spend the rest of my life alone, and I would never have the future I dreamed of. Well, again, if I could tell 15-year-old me what the future looks like now, well, I think she would be disappointed, to be honest. But I was very happy because, I'd had these feelings of attraction towards women that embarrassed me incredibly and that I wanted to bury away. And now I'd fallen in love with a boy, and I was heartbroken when we split up. So that was proof that I am obviously normal. I'm not saying here that being heterosexual is normal and everyone else isn't, but that is what I thought. I just wanted to be normal. And then I remember after we broke up, it was the summer holidays, and I went on holiday, and the feelings, they sort of kept coming back, and I had to think about it more and more, and everywhere, women suddenly started being everywhere. I don't know, all these women I hadn't noticed before. I suddenly realized they make up 52% of the world's population, and every time I saw a woman, I became more and more confused, and I was becoming, desperately sad and desperately worried because I felt like something was wrong with me. And then this was actually the first time I came out to anyone, but I don't really count it as my first coming out, because I remember I went to my mum and I said, I'm having these feelings. And she comforted me and said, oh, don't worry, it's just a phase. It's normal. Everyone has a bit of a crush on their best friend. That's just what girls are like. It will go away. And I was very happy because I was like, okay, it's a phase. Oh, it will end. It will be over soon. And I was very, very happy with this. It's just a phase narrative. But still, these feelings were sort of bugging me, and I was becoming increasingly more worried that I wouldn't be able to fall in love again with a man. And I was really uncomfortable and really scared. And then fast forward to a few months later, when I was 15, I met the other boyfriend that I've ever had. And in this relationship, at the beginning, everything was fine, and I felt, again, I thought, oh, wonderful, I feel really in love, and I'm really happy, and feelings of women were sort of more or less gone because I was really happy and newly in love, and, but then more and more, as we became older, you start talking about things and you start thinking about things. And then I tried to persuade myself, oh no, it's just that I find women aesthetically pleasing. That was all it is. So again, I was still very much in denial. I didn't want this. I was really uncomfortable. And I stayed in this relationship, longer than I probably should, just because I felt like I had to have a boyfriend, because having a boyfriend was cool. We didn't really have that much in common, and the longer we were together, the more I realized there's something missing. And I think this was like the turning point for me. I remember thinking, at first, it was just like a curiosity. So as we became older, I realized that lesbians and bisexual people do in fact exist. And I even met some. And seeing other, single people, girls who did identify as straight, just drunkenly making out at a party. Just even that sort of thing. I was very much curious, but I was also in this relationship where I was very committed, and I was convinced that I would get married to a man, because that's what I felt like I had to do. That's what I felt like my future had to hold. So I thought, I had these fantasies about maybe being with a woman, but I knew it would never be reality because I still had this bias, not towards other people. I didn't mind other people who were not heterosexual, but for myself, it was just a different feeling. I couldn't allow myself to embrace it. And again, I was just sort of becoming more and more miserable. And at first, it was just a curiosity, and then I told my boyfriend, I think I'm bisexual, and he said, oh, that's fine, don't worry, you're with me now, and that doesn't change anything that you're bisexual. And I was very happy that he accepted me for that, and that my bisexuality wasn't a problem. But then the longer the relationship went on, we dated for almost 3 years, the more I sort of felt like there was something missing. I remember every night I would fall asleep and I thought, this is okay. I can survive this. And that's when I sort of started to realize, thinking I can survive this, that's not really what a relationship should feel like. And I kept on thinking, it's okay. There's nothing like objectively bad happening. I just feel like there's something missing. And I need to try other things out in life. And I couldn't let myself, fulfill these things. And it was just at night when I was very tired, I would cry myself to sleep because it just felt wrong, I felt like I was lying to myself, to everyone else, to my boyfriend. I felt like I was living this lie because we had our future planned out. We were really young, and now my opinions on this have changed, but I was sure this was going to be the person that I will marry, and I couldn't see any way of not living this kind of conservative life that I had imagined for myself. So now I'm going on almost 18, now in the timeline of things, not now at the time of this recording. And, I just became more and more unsure of what to do. And I started sort of becoming more involved with queer culture and joining Facebook groups and just sort of being part of the community. And then I just felt so incredibly at home and started feeling, on the one hand, more comfortable with this identity, but the more I embraced it, the more unhappy I became when I couldn't escape to these queer safe spaces because, I knew this was never going to be the life that I would be able to live. So that was really difficult, to be honest. It was a really, really difficult time because it was the time of my A-levels and I had to study a lot and, other things to worry about. But it was constantly playing on my mind. And then it was 2018 Pride Month. And I didn't want to come out to anyone because I was scared. So I had this really good strategy where I just bought all of the rainbow things that I could find. And I wore rainbow clothes every single day to every single occasion. And I thought someone is gonna see and they're gonna be like, ah, yes, this is a lesbian. At least that's what I hoped. But somehow people didn't get it. I don't know, people didn't get it, and I was becoming increasingly more frustrated. And then one day I just, I realized I have to break up. I cannot do this. I cannot live this lie any longer. And then I did. I did break up. And I regretted it immediately because I thought I've ruined everything. And now people are going to know that I am not normal. So you can see, at 18, I absolutely did not embrace who I am, and I could not embrace it, and I was terrified. But then we did break up, and I started coming out to people. And actually, most people took it really well. I remember when I told my mum, we were standing in the garden and I said, you might want to sit down for this. And then I said, Mum, I'm a lesbian. And she sort of looked at me and then she kind of said, yeah, we'd sort of figured that. So actually no one was that surprised when I came out to them. And the people, around me were very much embracing of it. And I was actually pretty lucky. So in my story, most of the doubt was me. But there was one person, so I was really, really scared to come out to my dad because I really didn't know how he would react and if he would be like really sad or if he would be angry at me. I was really scared, so I thought, I'm just not going to come out. We'll just wait and see what happens if I ever find a girlfriend, because I wasn't really sure that I would, to be honest. But anyway, so skip forward to when I started uni. I suddenly realized, university, I can be a whole new person. And I decided I'm going to live who I am. Which, so, on the one hand, it was actually pretty good for me because I decided I don't care what other people think of me regarding my style, for example. I became a lot more authentic in who I was. So I think that's one of the biggest things that I learned since coming out was that I just learned this authenticity and I felt a lot more comfortable with who I was and my style. And then I started doing something that is a bit atypical for me. So you must know I'm not the biggest people person. I like people, but I just think people are exhausting. As much as I'm sort of loud and bouncy and bubbly, I'm very much an introvert in the sense that people just exhaust me. But I thought, oh dear, I'm 18 and I've never kissed a girl and I need to make up for this. So I downloaded Tinder and I spent a lot of time swiping and I went on a lot of very weird dates and sort of romanticized dates that really weren't very good and thought, oh, this is the one. This is the one. I thought that with every person because, my biggest goal in life was to find a partner at this time, which, again, if you know me now, it's kind of, I have developed. I have grown. I mean, not saying that it's bad to want a partner, not at all, but my values, my personal values, I guess, have changed quite a lot since then. Anyway, so I do still owe you a coming out story. Now, this one is a little bit inappropriate, and I'm very sorry if if any of my family's listening, but this is the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to me. So I was watching it was a sex ed YouTube channel. I swear it was. It was nothing inappropriate per se. It was a sex education YouTube channel, and it happened to be about lesbian sex. And I was watching this video, and I thought, this is weird. I've pressed play on my phone, but it is not playing. So I made it louder and louder, and then my dad calls me from the living room, and you must know we have a very big television. So I get this call from the living room, and it is my dad. And it says, Olivia is playing a video, so it was very obvious that it was mine. And this video, so it displayed the title, and then it was also sort of a graphic, an infographic, but still, it was very obvious. And to this point, my dad still thought I was very much heterosexual. So that was rather embarrassing, because it had been very loud and on the television. And we were both so embarrassed, I ran up into my room, and we never talked about it again. And I'm not quite sure what he thought it was, because we have never talked about it again. And then from this point, it was kind of like 1.5 years or something until I actually found a girlfriend. And then I'll tie his reaction to getting a girlfriend into my story about how I met my current girlfriend, Anya. Because this sort of fits in the timeline very well. So we met on Tinder. How romantic. And we matched, so her friends had forced her to make a Tinder profile, and I had a Tinder profile because, Tinder is fun, but also, so I swiped when I was bored, but I'd also sworn off Tinder because I'd had enough of really weird dates. And to be honest, I do not remember matching with her. I think it might have been an accident. She knows this, we laugh about it, but I think it might have been an accident that I matched with her. But anyway, so she writes to me, and her opening message is, "What's your cat called?" So I told her what my cat is called, and she goes, "Wow, my cat's name is really similar, just one letter's different. Guess what my cat is called?" And I thought, oh, bloody hell, who's this weirdo? But me also being a weirdo, and also me being really bad at confrontation and feeling really guilty about ignoring people, I guessed what her cat could be called. And then The conversation, it was a bit awkward. There wasn't very much of it. And the rest of it is quite funny because at this point I thought she was quite weird, to be honest. These messages were a bit weird. And also her profile was absolutely not what she's like in real life. It was sort of a bit of a pick me girl profile. Um, I'm sort of sound a bit mean here, don't I, if you listen to this? But the story gets better, I promise. But for some reason, so again, very, very out of character, but just from seeing my profiles, Anya did the same thing that I had sort of done with previous people, which was imagining a future and being quite invested in after just a few Tinder messages. And then unfortunately, me, the heartthrob that I am, had to break her heart because I was not doing very well at that time, and I realised I need to focus on myself and on uni and on everything, but I should not be dating and meeting new people at the moment. So I wrote a very honest message and I said, hey, I'm really sorry and please don't take this personally. I didn't just write this to her, I wrote this to a few people that I'd been talking to. I said, I need to focus on myself at the moment. So, very sort of stereotypical message. Oh, it's not you, it's me. Except it was true. I didn't Tinder. I actually deleted Tinder after this and I stuck with my, what I wanted to do. I did start focusing on myself. And we didn't have any contact for like a month and a half or something at all. But she did keep following me on Instagram and I followed her. And she is an incredible artist. And I kept finding myself looking at her art and thinking, oh, this is really wonderful. I would really like some of this art. But just writing to her and saying, oh, can I buy a picture? I thought that's a bit weird. So unfortunately, I thought I'm just going to have to, I don't know. That is going to be a dream that will never come true. But I did like looking at her art because I thought it was very, very impressive. And I still think it is. May, no, wrong month. Oh dear. March 2020. Yes, the start of a global pandemic. That was a pleonasm. I'm not sure what it's called in English. It's called a pleonasmus in German when you have too much information. A pandemic already says that it's global. Sorry about that. Me being a smart ass now, isn't it? Except I haven't done it very well because I didn't know the English word. I don't know why Anya puts up with me, to be honest. And also, everyone still listening to this podcast here. I thought it was going to be a really short episode, but it's not because somehow I cannot keep things short. Anyway, start of a pandemic. So we've established I'm a lesbian. I was sort of having a bit of a crisis because I felt like I'm not good enough for my degree and I didn't really know what the hell I want to do with my life. And I'm stuck at home. So what do? Obviously, I bleach my hair because I would not be a real part of the queer community if I didn't do this. So I cut my hair short because, again, I am a lesbian and all lesbians have to have short hair. I cut my hair short and I bleached it. And it looked absolutely dreadful. I hated it because if you bleach your hair at home, it goes bloody yellow. And it looked dreadful. But I think I'm hilarious. Not many other people do, but I think I am very funny. So I had sort of chin length hair, which was bleached blonde, and I got an old packet of my dad's hair gel, and I sort of made a greasy hairstyle. I pushed it all back, and I looked like Draco Malfoy. So I posted an Instagram story, and I wrote, "Scared, Potter," and I thought this was hilarious. And Anya apparently did too, because she hadn't written to me in these 1.5 months and she completely respected my wish. But, she replied to this Instagram story, which is fine. Loads of people had. And it was the pandemic and I was stuck at home and I was really bored. So I didn't just like the message and carry on with my life the way you sometimes do if you don't really know what to answer. But I actually started talking to her. And then somehow the talking didn't stop, because after a few days of talking, I realized this person is really, really incredible. And it just started with little things. I was really sad on one of the first days we were talking, and somehow, even without knowing me, she noticed something was off. And she suggested we could watch a film at the same time in our separate houses, and we could just chat about it. And then we didn't actually end up doing that, but we did talk every single day, and we sent each other weird videos of our faces, and we just talked about everything. And it was pretty good because we got the small talk phase over digitally. And then we just, I don't know, I felt like we got to know each other really, really well because we had a hell of a lot of time. So we started talking middle of March, I think. And then we had March and then the whole of April. And then beginning of May, we suddenly found out that lockdown was going to be lifted and you are allowed to see people again. So you must remember, everyone had forgotten how to act in social situations because everyone had been isolated. And I was also sort of just in the process of moving out from my parents' house into a flat to Vienna. So in the middle of this, we decided, we've been talking for such a long time, we need to go on a date. And then we did. And our date was we met in Vienna, and the lockdown had lifted, so you were allowed to see people, but none of the cafes or restaurants or anything that you can sort of do on a first date was open. So we sort of stood before the problem. Sorry. Oh, sorry. We sort of stood before the problem, right? What do we do? Because, we'd spoken on the phone, well, through voice messages, but we'd never actually seen each other. And we assumed the other person was real because we'd sent each other loads of videos, but still, you don't want to invite them inside or whatever. I mean, I could still be the Tinder swindler. I could have swindled Anya out of thousands and thousands of euros, couldn't I? So we met outside, and it was boiling hot in Anya's memory. In my memory, it was really bloody windy. But anyway, so one of us is obviously wrong. I think it's Anya, but But anyway, what we can agree on is the weather conditions were shite. So we went for like a 20-minute walk, and it was all, rather sweet, rather awkward. I am a bit of a confused person. So I'd bought her flowers and chocolate, and she had bought me the same chocolate, which was rather cute because we talked about our favourite chocolate before. But I forgot the flowers at home. So my time management is awful, but luckily I'm the type of person who's always 5 hours too early, so I never miss anything. So I was there way too early until I realised, oh damn, I've forgotten the flowers. So I run back home, I get my flowers, I arrive all sweaty, out of breath. I'm sorry. And then we walk, and I was like, oh yes, let me make a move. Let me sort of hold her hand. So we did this 20-minute walk, and then I said, oh, I'm really sorry, but I need to go to the pharmacy. I need to go to the chemist's. I need to get my prescription. So our first date, we went on a bit of an awkward walk, and then we went to the chemist's. And then we realised, what do we do now? It'd be a bit awkward if the date ended after 20 minutes because we were getting on quite well. But the weather conditions, maybe they were hot, maybe it was windy, but the weather conditions weren't really great. So I said, oh, why don't you come up to my flat? And Anya immediately agreed. And in my old flat, I had a plateau bed thing. And Anya, being equally as awkward as me, so I had told her about this bed before because it's really cool, but she looks at me and she goes, ooh, can I look at your bed? And I started freaking out. I thought, oh no, she's coming on to me. Oh my God, what do I do? She wants to see my bed. But it turns out she actually just wanted to see my bed. And I was very much relieved, but I was also, a bit scared because I'd never really been with a girl. So I was rather nervous, but then she sort of climbs up into my bed and gets very comfortable. And I thought, this is nice. Luckily, she did agree to come into my flat because, you know, I mean, I could have been a Tinder swindler, could have been a murderer, but luckily, I'm not. Yet. Sorry, I don't know what that ominous. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I swear I will not murder my girlfriend. That makes it worse, doesn't it? Everyone listening to this now probably thinks I am out of my mind. But anyway, so the first date went very well, and we sort of even went in for a kiss. And when I talked about how uncomfortable I was and how uncomfortable I'd been all of my life around my sexuality, this was the moment when it just felt right. I just remember thinking, wow, this is what kissing is supposed to feel like. And it just all felt so right and so comfortable. And that's really what it was like. Right from the start. And we just got on really, really well, and we had a few dates, and then we very quickly established that we should become a couple. And my dad, so I promised I would tell you my real coming out with him. So he knew that I was meeting this girl all the time, and he said, "Oh, we've got a voucher for a candlelight dinner. Do you want to do that?" And then he asked me, "Do you think it would be fun if you moved in together?" And he said all of these things, so I assumed he must know that we are dating. But it turns out he didn't. He just thought we were good friends and that somehow that was an appropriate thing to say. I mean, not that it's inappropriate, but it was just really weird. I don't know. And then when I told him, it wasn't fabulous. He wasn't particularly happy, and we did have sort of a bit of a phase with not much contact. But then he did eventually get used to it, and I'm very, very grateful that my family has accepted us with open arms, and her family as well. So we were very, very lucky like that it all went fairly smoothly. But so he asked us if we think it would be fun to move in together without even knowing that we were a couple. But again, being lesbians, we thought, oh yes, we must move in. No, what actually happened was that she lived in like student accommodations, and I had this flat, and she didn't have the student accommodation over the summer, but didn't live in Vienna. Her parents live further away. So she sort of stayed with me for weeks at a time. And then, you know, more and more of her stuff wandered in. I had her, what's the word for the thing that you put your art on? Her easel. And her clothes and all of these things just sort of appeared in my flat. And then, you know, she was sort of there and didn't leave, and then autumn came and she had a student accommodation again, but somehow she and all of her stuff stayed with me. So after, you know, about half a year of doing this, we decided it's ridiculous that she still got a student accommodation, because what a waste of money. And she gave that up. So we didn't actually U-Haul, but we did move in fairly quickly. And then again, we have to fulfill all the stereotypes. We adopted 2 cats, and yes, the rest is history. The future is a mystery. I am very awkward, but somehow she still loves me. That was almost a poem. But yes, so this is a very detailed version of my personal queer story, my queer journey. That many people have shown interest in. So thank you very much for listening. As always, you can follow me on my social media. So either at Chatting with Charlie or at Livy_Sophie. And I now also have a Redbubble store. So if you check out Livy Crampler on Redbubble, you can buy my art. So if you like what I do, I would be really, really happy, because you can support me that way and get really rad stickers or hats, mugs. I'm not very good at ads, am I? So yes, or maybe if you feel sorry for me that I'm so awkward, you can buy stuff and then I can actually take a seminar about how to make a podcast. Or you could just, buy something so I have enough money to shut up. But no, I won't be shutting up anytime soon. All right then. Cheers, my dears. Thank you for listening, and hopefully I will make another episode soon.